Myself, my three youngest children, and my son's girlfriend were involved in a head-on collision.
The drunk driver was 3 times the legal limit, and he was traveling on the wrong side of the interstate at a high rate of speed when he slammed into their vehicle. Lindy, who was 20 years old, passed away instantly. My brother Christopher, who was 17, made it to the hospital, but he ultimately passed away from his injuries. And my sister Cameron, who was only 15, ultimately passed away from her injuries. The crash also sent my mom and my brother's girlfriend to the hospital.
I was severely injured and entered the hospital as a level 1 trauma. My son's girlfriend, Marissa, was also severely injured. We were the only 2 survivors. I have retired from my job as a mail carrier due to my physical injuries, but the emotional trauma and the extreme grief has been the hardest of all to navigate.
Their deaths didn't have to happen. They were senseless. And I just hope that our story can make you think twice. Because life without those kids is hardly a life.
Hey, welcome guys, welcome to the podcast. This is JP, and I'm here with Dawn and Cody. And we are talking about the consequences of drinking and driving. So Dawn, what was on your mind during the crash?
During the crash, I actually have no memory of the crash. Do you want me to kind of give a background to who I am? Okay. My name is Dawn Simmons, and I'm a mom of 9 kids. And we were, me and my 3 youngest children were we went to my son's basketball at an away game, which was in Monroe, Louisiana, which is about 4 hours from here. So it was a kind of far travel distance. And we went to the basketball game. Kids were hungry, and we stopped at Subway in Monroe, ate, and headed back home. We were headed back home this occurred on December 17th of 2021, and we were heading home and ready to begin the Christmas break. It was the last day of school before Christmas break. So we were heading home, and on our way home, a drunk driver was coming down the interstate the wrong way, and he hit us head on. He was doing 90 miles an hour. We were doing 75, which is the speed limit on I-49. We were properly restrained, but the impact of the crash, unfortunately, my 3 youngest children lost their lives that night. I survived. I was severely injured. My son Christopher's girlfriend Marissa was in the vehicle with us as well, and her and I were the only 2 survivors. So we left the Subway that night at 7:06. Our crash was at 9:01. I don't have any recollection of that crash. The impact was so severe that it actually distorted my memory. My last memory of that evening was leaving the Subway at 7:06. So it was just a horrible, horrible night. My children lost their lives that night. Lindy was 20 years old, Christopher was 17, and Cameron was 15. It was the most horrendous and hopeless and horrible night of my life due to a drunk driver who made a horrible decision that night. That one decision he made to get behind the wheel of his car changed my life and my family's life forever. So it is just so important to, when you get behind the wheel of a car, that you make good decisions, because I don't think you would want to live with the weight of this decision. Now, the drunk driver was killed in our case. A lot of times they make it. He also died the night of the crash. But this man's decision will affect me and my family and all their friends' lives until we take our last breath. It was horrible. It was a selfish and horrible and a preventable decision that he made. There are so many things that you can do now to not get behind the wheel intoxicated, and you have to make those decisions beforehand. A decision to call an Uber, a decision to call a friend, you know, would have changed, that could have changed the trajectory of that night so easily. But that one decision that he made is a life changing and altering decision that will affect me and my family's lives forever.
What was on your mind when you heard about the crash?
Well, when I woke, I didn't find out that I lost my children until 2 days later because I was in ICU. I entered the hospital as a level one trauma. They rate you when you arrive to these trauma centers, and uh, I was a number 35. When you go in above a 25, you're not expected to make it. So, the way I actually didn't find out that I lost my children until 2 days later because of the injuries that I had sustained. So, um, when the doctors gave the okay for them to let me know that I had lost the kids, um, I didn't take on the full weight of their loss because my injuries were so bad, and I actually very thankful for that because I don't think I could have taken the weight of that in my own, in my own healthy body. So it was very incremental the way that I received the news. I would come in and out of consciousness and say, "They're all gone. They're all gone," and it was just if there's something I can be thankful for through this, it's the way that the whole weight of their loss did not overtake me because I really don't think I could have sustained the weight of that news of losing three beautiful young children who did nothing wrong, who were a victim of someone else's bad decision.
How quickly did the accident occur?
How quickly did what
How quickly did the accident occur?
occur? So quick.
Or how fast did the crash occur?
It was so fast. Like I said, he was doing 90 miles an hour. So picture this in your mind, and we're doing 75. No brakes were applied. From what we're understanding, there was a vehicle in front of us, and the guy had just come over an overpass, and the vehicle in front of us saw him coming, veered out the way quickly, and we had no time to respond. Now, this is what we're gathering because I have no memory of the crash. And Marissa, Christopher's little girlfriend, she was sleeping at the time of the crash, and then my three kids didn't survive. So there is no one, the drunk driver was killed, so there was really no one who has a 100% accurate description of exactly what happened that night. But that is our assumption from getting bits and pieces of information from people who were there that night.
Do you think the kids are suffering watching you suffer?
I don't think so. I don't think so because when you're in heaven, there's no sorrow. He wipes away all the tears. The love of God is so profound and so strong. There are not even words to describe. Um, I think that they are feeling the love of God in a way that we cannot even understand. Even the love I had for them is just a drop in the ocean compared to the love of God that they are living in. They are living in the fullness of joy. They are living in peace. They are living where there's no sorrow, there's no pain, there's no anger. It is just nothing but the joy of the Lord and the love of God that is just something that we cannot even fathom here. So I don't know how it all works, but I am confident that they are living a life that is so full of beauty, that is so full of love, that is just something that we just can hardly imagine. So no, I don't think, even though they loved me as much as I loved them, I don't think that they feel sorrow for knowing that, the way that my heart is broken. Um, like I said, None of us really know the specifics of things, but I don't think they know sorrow.
Um, I should have asked this last question, but can you go into detail how did he find out the kids?
How did I find out? Okay, well, I can kind of remember coming in and out of consciousness even before I officially found out. And I can remember, my husband and my kids, they were all around me, and I would kind of come into consciousness, and I would whisper, I'm like, "Where's the kids?" And they would just say, "Mom, just worry about getting better. Don't worry about it, And then I would kind of go back out of consciousness. But I can kind of remember thinking, I'm not getting the answer that I'm looking for. Like Christopher is in room 313 with two broken legs. Like I never got that answer. So in the back of my mind, it's like God was already preparing me. Like it just wasn't the answer that I thought I needed, that I thought I should have gotten. So my daughter Katie, she just took the reins, and I mean, she wanted to let my husband be there with me and the other siblings be there with me, and she just took the reins. And when I tell you, she just handled everything. It was just such an amazing and remarkable job that she did. So she actually didn't get to come see me in the hospital till 2 days later, because she was busy trying to make funeral arrangements and just taking care of millions of loose ends, as you can imagine, with losing three children like that. So she came in the hospital on December 19th. And when I looked at her and I have a very, very special relationship. And we locked eyes, and I said, "Katie, where are the kids?" And she was starting to back up, but one of the pastors that were there said, "Katie, go ahead and tell her." And he was pushing her forward, and he said, "The doctors have cleared it." He said, "Tell her, Katie, she's asking you." And she said, "Mom," she said, "I am so, so sorry." She said, "They gone, Mom." She said, "All three are gone." And I said, "All three?" And she just started crying, and I started crying, but I was so physically broken. I'm telling you, I just couldn't take the whole weight of it. So, and it's crazy to say, but I'm actually very thankful that my body was physically broken, because it allowed me to just incrementally take the weight of the emotional loss of losing three children at one time. So, you know, when you get behind the wheel of a car, it is a very heavy, heavy piece of machinery. And people need to understand that you have to make decisions beforehand before you get behind the wheel of a car, because you can kill someone in it, and someone can kill you in it. And I tell you, I never ever thought that this would happen to me and my family. But I'm here today to tell you that it can. And that's why you have to make wise, wise decisions before you get behind the wheel of a car. Because you are in a position where you can either injure yourself, and you can injure someone else, and actually kill someone else, and change a family's life forever. The family that we had before, mom, dad, and 9 kids, that family's dead. That family, that changed everything about our family, our hopes and dreams that our families had, the dynamics that our family had. That is dead and gone. We are having to readjust to this new life of mom, dad, and 6 kids, and deal with a hole and a hurt in our heart that we will have to live with forever. It has affected their siblings in every way that you can imagine. It's just an unimaginable loss that we have to try and navigate through each and every day. We miss and long for these kids every second of every single day. And it's just such a horrible loss that our family has to deal with something that could have been prevented. It's so preventable. It was just a selfish decision on this man.
Um, what makes you get up in the morning knowing your three kids are not here with you?
My relationship with God. My relationship with God is which strengthens me. You know, hope deferred makes the heart sick, you know. And I tell you, at first, I was very, very hopeless. Before I could move on, I had to just figure out, because I was so hopeless. I've been serving God for 37 years. I have never felt so hopeless and so devastated and crushed and confused in my whole life. I couldn't even speak enough to pray to God to help me. I was just that broken. So I had to find, before I could begin to get my bearings, I had to figure out where I can get my hope back. And God just led me to just different things that I would watch on YouTube, and just people who had had experiences with God. And it just slowly began to give me my hope back as these people's testimonies. A lot of them were near-death experiences. People who had died, went to heaven, and came back, and this their description of heaven, and knowing how beautiful. I mean, the beautiful flowers, the smells, and the love. They said the love of God, like you just really never wanted to leave there. So once I kind of got a grip, and I mean, I've always said, yes, of course, heaven, it's a wonderful place. But I tell you, until you lose somebody who is near and dear to your heart, who you love more than anything in this world, until you experience that kind of loss, you know, I needed to have more of a knowing and a description, and just a knowing of where my kids were and what they were experiencing, because those kids were the joy of my life. They were who I did life with. They were who, when I'd get off of work, they were the first people I would see. And I mean, we truly did life together. So having that deeper understanding of heaven slowly began to give me my hope back, to where I could grasp my footing and begin to reach out to God and call out to Him and feel His love, where He could just pick me up and I could begin to slowly move forward. Now, I'm going to tell you, I am still in that process today, and I probably will still be in that process of moving forward for the rest of my life until I take my last breath. It takes time, but if you will allow God, ask Him in, and ask Him to help you with whatever you're going through. Could be loss, it could just any trial that you're going through. If you will truly seek Him, He is faithful and He will help you. Is my day still hard every day? Every day is hard. I'm going to give you an example. Yesterday I went to a baby shower. This is the first time I went to a baby shower since losing the kids. I had to grab a napkin and steady keep wiping the tears from my eyes, because my heart was so broken, thinking Lindy and Cameron will never ever have the opportunity to have a baby shower. It was a hard, hard day yesterday, but God strengthens me and He gives me the desire. We have started a nonprofit for the kids called Simmons 3. And it is our mission and it is our heart to go around. We go to many, many schools and we educate kids on decision making behind the wheel of a car. It's all about keeping their memory alive, educating people, uh, you know, building their legacy. And, I don't ever want people to forget them. They were some amazing little people. But it is our heart's desire that another family, if we can help it, will never have to experience such a tragic loss like we have had to do because of one man's decision.
Can you describe the kids?
Oh my gosh. Lindy was 20 years old. She was our memory maker. Lindy was the most creative and beautiful, beautiful people you have ever wanted to meet. She was a phenomenal photographer. She had just landed her dream job. She was a sophomore at Nichols University, and she had just got hired in November of 21 as the campus photographer. Um, she was supposed to start that position in January of 22, but her life was stolen, and that day never came for her. She was our memory maker. She videoed, photographed, documented so much of everyday life. We actually got into her Snapchat because we wanted all the memories, because she was a photographer at heart. There were 55,000 videos and photographs on her Snapchat and on her and in her phone. So we have such an amazing, um, you know, pictures and videos and stuff that we can go back to, where I can hear their voice and just look back. I mean, Lindy would film everything. Her and Cameron would be at Walmart. Lindy would find an aisle where there wasn't many people. She'd set her phone up against a canned good, and her and Cameron would do a little dance. Um, they would pump gas and fist bump, and do a little spin around. We have so many videos of everyday life, and those everyday life videos I will cherish for the rest of my life. I am so thankful that she took the time to video these, at the time I thought, very insignificant things, but today they are the most valuable thing that I have, is all the pictures and videos. Um, Christopher was 17. Christopher was just a remarkable young man. He was on his way to be valedictorian of his class. He was an amazing athlete. He won first team All State for basketball the year of the crash. He won the Golden Glove Award. He was striving to make a 32 on his ACT. His highest score so far was a 26. And he told me, he said, "Mom, over the Christmas break," he said, "I need some study guides." He said, I need to get my score up in the science and math. So over the Christmas break, we were supposed to order him some study guides. Christopher was known for his integrity. If Christopher gave you your word, you could count on it. It's one of the things I hold in my heart to the highest esteem, is he was such a little man of integrity. He was going to college to be a software engineer like his oldest brother, Ren. He was a teenager who, before he made any decision, would truly weigh out how it would affect his future. He was just, he was my boy. He was just my beautiful, remarkable boy. And Cameron was 15. She was 41 days short of her 16th birthday, 41 days short of getting her driver's license, which she was ecstatic about. She could not wait. Her and I we drove a lot together that year, because she was doing her practice driving. And she would put her little playlist on, and she would sing and sing and sing. She had the most beautiful voice. And it's one of the things, one of, that I just truly miss today, as I drive alone a lot because they're not here anymore. And I look for her, and I long to hear her little voice singing. Cameron was the kindest child I've ever met in my life. When we would leave Walmart, sometimes you have the little homeless people holding up a sign, they need a little money for food or something. If I didn't have money in my purse, she would say, "Mom, go to the money machine. We have to help them." It truly hurt her heart when she would see people hurting. And they were just such great kids, just with beautiful, beautiful hearts. And when I tell you, I miss every single thing about them.
Hmm.
Cody,
Yeah.
you got it?
Okay. Well, I do have this one thing from, I would say,
Wait, hold on.
What's that?
Okay, you can talk now.
Okay, so I have a question. Excuse me. Wait, what is your name again, by the way?
Dawn, Dawn
Dawn.
Simmons. Mm-hmm.
Thank you. So Dawn, I do have one thing that was very interesting about your discussion, which is your gratitude for things. And the connection to me was very interesting about your gratitude through how you explained that you specifically experienced this, and of course the trauma. And there was one part specifically about hmm uh was- I'm trying to remember specifically in a story, one story you've explained in detail, and I'm trying to remember actually what you said that was very interesting, and what I thought was just kind of a very beautiful thing to kind of mention, a really interesting about gratitude and how you were grateful, and how in part that has helped with, I
Yes,
think.
every day I make it a focus in my life that to be every day I wake up and I am determined to be thankful and to express to the Lord something that I can be thankful for. Despite, yes, this was, oh my gosh, the biggest tragedy I could have ever experienced in my life. It broke me to my core. I was broken mentally, physically, spiritually, emotionally. But I tell you what, in that brokenness, I have determined that I will be thankful. I will be thankful to God because He is a good and faithful Father no matter what we go through. He will help us to walk through anything. And that's the difference. You know, people, we are always going to go through different trials and things in our life. But the difference is doing it with God, that He is faithful and that He will walk us through. And, you know, He he turns beauty into ashes. There has been so many beautiful things that has come from the loss of these kids. Now, would I have chose this? Absolutely not. But yet here we are. And I have just seen so many beautiful, beautiful things that have come from the loss of these kids. And, like I said, we're just 18 months in, and I can't even imagine as we get further down the road the more things. I mean, we get comments from people all the time saying that their faith has been renewed because of the way that we are walking out this tragedy. And I just determined in my heart that you know you can't lower the standard of scripture to your level of experience. Yes, we experienced a horrible, horrible tragedy, but God's word is true. He is a good and perfect Father. He is good and He is always good. And I will stand on that. Now, it's a hard walk, but I will never lower God's standard of Scripture. I just have determined in my heart that I'm going to represent Him well, even walking through the most horrible thing I have ever experienced in my life, the most heartache that I have ever experienced. I, I have determined in my heart that I will represent Him well, and I will be thankful because, there is always, something that could be worse. We all have something that we can be thankful for.
Mm, that's actually something super. This to me is a the exact. I would say that's the greatest love, because I would point out, I think, you speaking of God as this is, and you're walking with the divine as you speak, I think. And
Right.
that to me is something you've, by doing this, your love and you've been given is in the connection that you have with God is so great that your life itself is being put back together because of it, and it's becoming where you're able to actually give and have more people have better, what would it be, more grateful lives and better lives in the name of, in with God. And that to me, that is something that's so much deeper in love. Like God
Right.
creating the universe that has facilitated the ability that you said of beauty into ashes.
Mm-hmm.
That is so interesting to me, because it's like, to me, the greatest love possible is the only one that is the most
Mm-hmm.
challenging and the most extreme, and that is the most extreme of both ends.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but yet the because you walk with God, you found a way to actually experience both and find in the end love as it's the truest, the brightest, as you say, the darkest. You look in the darkness and you find the greatest light, and that to me is what you have found, and you've had other people find because of this and spreading awareness of this. And to me, that is something that is so just beautiful. It's that's incredible. I think that's great.
Yes, it this I feel like, you know, at my lowest point when I was in the valley, loss of the kids. I've had to retire from my job early because my legs were broken so severely. I was a mail carrier and I couldn't sustain that type of physical work. And raising 9 kids, and all of a sudden I have empty nest. That's three big things in people's lives, and we were hit with all three of them at once. So I tell you, I felt like it was just such like, I was broken in every single way, and I feel that that's in the valley. Well, sometimes when you're in the valley, um I have learned that I have experienced God in a way that I probably would not have ever experienced in another area. I was in the valley, and when I tell you, I had to surrender it all. And what I feel like he did is that he has just started to rebuild me, just totally rebuild, because I am not the same person that I was. I am a totally different person. I have such an increased awareness of heaven. It's like the veil is so thin, I just almost feel like I can touch it, but I just can't break through. That's I have such an increased awareness of heaven that I have never experienced before in my life. And that's because my kids, who I loved, who they were the joy of my life, they were everything to me, that's where they are. So it's just amazing to me how he has given me this increased awareness of heaven that I didn't have before. And I mean, how can how do you put a price tag on that? An increased awareness of heaven. God put eternity in our heart, and I feel it more than I've ever felt before. And another thing that I have done is I take all this loss and all this disappointment and all this confusion, of losing the kids, and I just grab them, and I put all that stuff close to my heart, and I offer it up as a sacrifice to the Lord. Because think about it, you can't do that in heaven. We only have that opportunity to do that here, to make these sacrifices of praise and offerings and lift it up to him, things that cost us. This cost me. This cost me in every area of my life, but I'm determined to offer that up to him. And it's just a beautiful interaction, because we only have that opportunity here on earth. In heaven, we will praise him for eternity. We will, we will not have sorrow, we will not have anger. It will be nothing but the presence of God. There will be none of that up there. So this is my opportunity to really just lift, you know, give him these sacrifices of praise, and really offer that up to him, because I can tell you this cost me. And there's something in that interaction that happens where he just begins to put everything that's out of sorts in my heart, and just so gently and so lovingly just kind of begin to put it back together for me. It's a beautiful thing. But again, let me go back. I would not have chosen this. I miss my kids every second of every day, but yet here we are. And I have determined in my heart that I will represent him well, even through this horrific tragedy that we experienced.
Hmm. I I would say specifically on, say, the nonprofit front. I guess I would say is this Simon's three? Is Wait, did I get it right?
Simmons. Simmons 3.
Simmons three. Okay, so
Yes.
may you go a little more into that and like depth on what you're doing there with it?
Yes, we work right now. We are working with Sudden Impact, which it's a organization that the state trooper, Louisiana State Trooper, they are a big part of it. There are trauma nurses, and they put this wonderful program together, and just it's real hands-on. They bring them to the trauma rooms where they bring the patients in. They just talk about drunk driving, distracted driving, the state troopers there, and it's just a really intense education program. And this year they are re-evaluating their program, and it's going to be solely around the crash that my children were involved in, because these these kids that attend these programs, they were my kids' age, so it's something that they can relate to when they walk in. We have videos of my kids doing TikToks, and just being kids, things that every kid does today. So it's so relatable. So right away it captures my daughter go, and we speak to these kids at these schools. We are actually, for our first time, I think we have a couple dates where we're going to go out of state. We're going to a school in Corpus Christi, Texas, and we're also going to a nonprofit in Corpus that deals with drunk driving and addiction and these types of things. We have gotten really all over the United States. We have people from California wanting us to go. We're not there yet because our nonprofit is new. We have to raise funds and things like that. But it is our heart, and it is our mission to educate people, to make them aware of decisions that they make and the consequences of those decisions. And just eventually, as we kind of get situated a little further on down the line, we would like to be able to help victims of drunk driving pay for funeral expenses, medical expenses, just different outreaches like that. But right now we're mainly focused on educating and making people aware of decisions that they make, and what are the consequences of a simple decision, how a simple decision can literally change people's lives forever. So that's kind of the vein we're in now. And for me, it's about building Lindy, Christopher, and Cameron's legacy. I don't want people to forget them. They were remarkable little people who could have just made such a mark on this world for good. But that's just not the way things are. So I am their voice now. I am their voice, and I want to make a difference. I want to build their legacy and make a difference in people's lives, so that other families won't have to experience the heartache and the pain that we deal with every day from the loss of these 3 young kids.
Oh, guess there's one thing I specifically would ask is, uh, God, is there? Ooh, hmm. Actually, I don't really think I have another thing I specifically would be able to explain, like in a reasonably understandable way. So, John, do you have anything else?
No,
You want to
I just
continue to add,
so.
or
Yeah, he wants to know if you have anything else.
Um, no, unless you have another question, Cody,
No,
but
he said he's
that's
done.
all.
I said I wouldn't be able to quite explain in terms to understand it really well. This is kind of a new thing I'm thinking about, so it'd be little little out there in a way that wouldn't think it wouldn't connect
Yeah,
well with all of us in a way. I don't know. That's why I'm like kind of not saying anything.
yeah.
There you go, Andy.
Um, um, how long is the video, Cody?
Oh, it's 41 minutes. Yeah.
Um, Nick has to add some stuff, so, I think this is good.
You think so? Yeah.
Yeah.
Don, it's been a great time hearing from your story and specifically about kind of going into depth on each part of like every big experience that happened, and that is something to me to learn a lot from, as I've taken kind of understanding and notes and trying to kind of just think of this and look back at this as, for me personally, as a little, I would say overall a very like gratitude for me to look at. And I just think that in everything you've went into has a benefit with the
I wanted to
connection.
add too, baby. I don't know if y'all put this on there, but whatever. If people really want to get to know these kids, my daughter has a TikTok with over almost 650,000 followers who have just come to love and know these kids, like, people from around the world who didn't really physically know them like they know them. So it's KATIEDEROUEN 1 on TikTok, and please feel free to get to know these kids better. They were awesome and amazing kids.
Wow. Okay. So on that note, I think specifically it's just been I would call it as it is, and I think, well, nonprofit, and I believe that sounds as if this is going to go to helping and really truly help many other kids and bring awareness to the world around. And I'm excited to see that, and I will see that. And so bringing
Well, thank you
that,
for having me.
yeah, what?
I said thank you for having me. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just been a really interesting story that I've never gotten to have a experience with someone who really had trauma that delve into it in a way that was very walking the divine to me with
Yes.
divine. That's what I would say. If I would sum this, that would be it.
Yep. It's the only way I survive it, to be honest with you. He is my lifeline. It is the only way I survived this. It was really just a horrible, horrible tragedy. So God has truly been my lifeline. He is how I wake up every morning. He is how I walk through each day. He is how I survive this. He is absolutely how I survive it. I look to the joy that's on the other side, because if you think about it, people look at Jesus on the cross. People thought that was such a defeat, but really it was the biggest victory for mankind. Because of what he did, we can have eternal life. So even what Jesus had to endure on the cross, I really feel like the way he endured that is because he knew the joy that was on the other side. And it's really what I have to keep my focus on is the joy that is to come on the other side, and the love of God, and just the beauty and the love of heaven, just right there, and that is what I have to, redirect my thinking a lot of time, because like I said, my days are hard. I loved my kids. I truly loved them. I mean, they were truly the joy of my life. And um, I have to do a lot of redirecting in my thinking, but I have his word before me, and I keep my eyes set on that. And it really is my lifeline.
Well, everyone here and now listening, I bringing this to a close, as this has been a necessary conversation to have. So I that's my final last words for this. So thank you all, and
Thank you.
anyone else? John, you want to wrap up, or yeah, man?
Yeah. Thank you for everybody for joining and tune in for next time.